now we have to double check how it leads into our next chord, and if anything has changed since then. So we have our octaves F and F here, but they're moving in opposite direction to a sixth apart, D to B flat. We have a perfect fifth here, F to C, and that's third part, D to F. So I think we avoided any parallel motion still. Yeah. All right, then moving to our next chord, our B flats are our octaves, moving in opposite direction. B flat to F are our fifths, oblique motion. F to F is our octaves, and then B flat to D. F to C is our fifths, B flat, so octaves. So I think your rest of it's good. It's morning, Monday morning. We'll see if I can get this out. Probably should have done this first, but you want to check your soprano and your bass as well, to just make sure that there are no direct octaves or direct fifths. All right, so we have octaves in our bass and our soprano moving in opposite directions, so that won't be a direct octave. Moving in opposite direction, that won't be a direct octave. Oblique motion. All right, parallel motion here, B flat to G, or G to B flat, that's a third. E flat to G, that's also a third, thirds are fine. Into octaves again, moving in opposite direction into sixths, moving in opposite direction into thirds, moving in opposite direction into octaves. So yeah, double check your soprano and your bass as far as are they moving in. You want them majority contrast, or contrasting motion, moving in opposite direction is the best if possible. That's the most independent of each other, right? But occasionally they're going to have to move in parallel motion. As long as it's not parallel octaves or parallel fifths, it's fine. Similar motion, fine. Oblique motion, probably better. But yeah, good job. Any questions? Anybody want to volunteer their three-part example? Calm down. Not everybody wants. Anybody? Going once? Ben?
Alright, so the soprano's on the D.
Okay, up here?
Yep, yeah. And then the alto on the F.
Okay.
The soprano comes down to the C. Alto stays on the F.
Okay.
Soprano comes down to the B flat. F down to D. Stays on B flat, F up to E, or D up to E. Soprano goes up to C. The alto on the G. Soprano stays on the C, alto on the A. And the soprano goes up to the F, and the alto on the B flat. Then down to the C and the A. And up to the D and the B flat.
All right. Okay, so our first chord, B flat major chord, we got B flat, D, F, complete triad. That's good. Maybe let's Oh, another thing we wanna check with our soprano line, before we get like too far into any of the rest of the weeds, is make sure that if at a point, the soprano line is on scale degree 7, the next note has to move to a scale degree 1, right? So, do we have any A's? You don't have any A's in your soprano line, so you don't even have to worry about it. But if you did have an A, we wanna make sure that it moves up to B flat. We could double check our soprano now with our bass. 3 parts is a lot easier now, so we got B flat and D, third apart. They're moving in the same direction, parallel motion, but A to C is also a third. Any question for you too far?
I just had a question, about the scale degree 7 going up.
Mm-hmm.
If we hold, like, so if it's if our soprano's on scale degree 7, and it just doesn't move, if it has static motion,
Mhm.
and then moves up to the tonic, is that fine, or does
Yeah.
it have to move
No,
to
but
the tonic?
eventually it has to move to the tonic, but it can stay on the scale, on T, on scale degree 7, as long as it needs to, but eventually, when it moves, it's gotta move to 1.
Okay.
Alright, so yeah, now we have, movement opposite direction, A to C, to B flat to B flat octaves, oblique motion, soprano stays, bass moves, opposite direction again, oblique motion again, now they're at fifths, moving in opposite direction to sixths, back to fifths, and then, opposite direction to thirds, alright. So yeah, good counterpoint with the bass, seems to match up. Let's check our alto with our bass, and against our soprano as well. So we have a complete chord, triad, moving to another complete triad. B flat F is our fifths. Now we have our fifth, well, A to F, it's oblique motion, so it's 6. Now we have our fifth up here, between our soprano and our alto, moving in similar motion to 6. Now we have our octaves, between our bass and our soprano. Have an incomplete triad, which is fine, just pointing that out. Let's see, we have our complete triad, G, E flat, B flat. Fifths here, moving to a fourth, complete triad here. Let's see, we don't have octaves, we don't have fifths, that's even better. F to C then is our fifths, we already said between our bass and our soprano, it's fine. Complete triad once again, back down. Now here, if your bass, Matt, just to point out, you didn't do anything wrong, but if our bass were moving up, had you gone in the same direction with your soprano, you would have ended up with a direct fifth here. Because the bass is moving down, the soprano is moving down, final destination point, you have a perfect fifth. But because the bass is moving in the opposite direction, we don't have to worry about it. Okay, so, but it is something, again, as you're writing it out, you wanna be very aware of what's happening between our bass and soprano at all times. Because it has that extra layer of direct fifths and octaves, and we wanna have good counterpoint. Alright, FAC, complete triad, B flat, D, incomplete. So where's our fifths, F and C, B flat, D, looks good. Yep. Finding that one for you. Your soprano. do like, was 3-part easier than 4-part? 4-part easier than 3-part? Didn't really matter? Both are?
I like 4-part more, cause it feels like, I guess you just have more options, it feels like to me. So like, if you get into a point, I felt like if I got into a point where I kinda got stuck where, well, if I do this, I have parallel fifths, if I do this, I have like, whatever
Yeah.
error. I feel like there's a lot more options to get out of that in 4-part than there is 3-part.
Oh, okay. Everybody feel that way, or?
Felt like 3-part, maybe just notes I selected, seemed like 3-part gave me more options, or gave me fewer pinch points.
Yeah. Well, with 3-part, you're dealing with less voices, so you don't have as many parallel or perfect octave or perfect intervals to deal with. Like in this case, we only had either a perfect fifth or a perfect octave at most of the time, like that you had to watch out for. As opposed to 4-part, you almost always have a perfect fifth and a perfect octave that you have to watch out for on every chord. So, yeah. Sometimes it just depends on the example too. All right, any other questions or thoughts or anything that we wanna review on this assignment or wanna talk about regarding this assignment? Okay. Let's do some more examples. Let's see here. We did some of this last Wednesday, but probably be a good idea to review because I can guarantee that there will probably be something similar to this on the exam on Wednesday. So let's take a look at, I guess down here. I don't know. Let's look at this one, number 7. It's in the work, I'm just using some of the pages of the workbook, but you may have already turned it in, so it might be on another page that's not there anymore.
So page 63 maybe?
63, yeah, 63, number 7, the E major one. So again, what we have here is a baseline, chords are already given to you, and your soprano line's already given to you. All you need to do is fill in the alto and the tenor. So as I write this on the board, if you want to give that a try. On your own. sharp root position, so what note do we double?
You double the,
Double root, double
I'm
root.
sorry. No, yes,
Alright, so what note did you have for the alto? D, like down here,
yes.
okay? And so if you're gonna double the root, you're gonna wanna have the tenor on the E.
Mhm.
Is that what you did?
No.
Okay.
Because I was doing three.
Okay.
I did
Oh, you did
four.
three part?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I missed it.
Well, let's try your three part, and then we'll look at another example of somebody that did the four part. Alright, so we got three part, yes, in that case, you could have the alto here, you could also have the alto double the root. Alright, then moving to the next chord, now, I don't know, this wasn't designed for three part, so maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but we have F sharp, 2/3, what do we need to have then in the chord? The D sharp, which would be alto, moving up to the D sharp, okay. And then our next chord has the G sharp and the E. You can either double the E or have a B in the chord,
I went to B.
went back down to B. And then we have F sharp and A already in our chord. Again, you can double the F sharp, or you can have a C sharp.
I did a C sharp.
Okay. So then at that point, then we just wanna watch out for any parallel motion. So E to B is a fifth, F sharp to D is a sixth, G to, B is a third, A to C is a third. We don't have any fifths or octaves there, so three part, that would've been fine. Somebody do the four part, you wanna share?
You already know I did, so.
What's that?
I've already volunteered.
Oh, you don't chew your bread twice.
I will, if you'll let me. I already know.
Amelia, what do you have for, this, your voices here?
Tenor on E and alto on E.
Tenor on the B, alto on the E, is that what you said? Okay. These knees sound very similar, especially when you dig in all weekend. Alright, moving to the next chord.
Alto moves down to D, tenor moves down to A.
Okay. Next chord.
Alto goes back up to E, and tenor goes up to E.
Okay.
Then the last one, I doubled the A, and then I had, alto go down to C.
Okay. Let's see, so we have the root double E to E. Moving to our next chord, we're moving in opposite direction. We have our fifths here, also moving in opposite direction. Our chord E sharp, F sharp, F sharp, A. As long as you don't double the leading tone, don't double the D, you're good. Which you would have been able to do anyway, because I already gave you some red on bass. Moving to the next chord, our octaves are there, got our bass and our soprano. Moving to six, we have a fifth here. No, we don't have any fifths. Alright, G sharp, B, E. We don't have fifths or octaves, that's kind of nice. Then moving to our next chord. We have A's, our E's moving in the opposite direction. Yeah, we have unison, I guess, but didn't have parallel unison. Okay, yeah, looks good. Anybody have anything different? I don't know how much different we could have been, the voices were really close together, so I'm not sure if we would have had much of an option. Yeah, you really you couldn't voice that first chord. If you gave the soprano, or the alto the B, you'd have to give the tenor the E, and then you might be able to jump up here and kind of have a similar thing the rest of the way. I think that would work with a bigger leap in the tenor. Yeah, that would have worked. So yeah, if you voice the first chord like this, but then pretty much did what Amelia had the rest of the way, that would work. All right, let's try a 3-part example. And Anne Marie, you have to do 4-part. Let's do this B minor one here on the next page. This is on page 65 of your workbook. You're keeping score. Number 5 down here. Key is B minor. Let's get everybody on the same page here. So the first chord is a 1 chord. What notes? Isaiah, what notes belong to our 1 chord in B minor?
B, D, F sharp.
Okay. Has a 4 chord, but it's major 4 chord. We haven't seen that much of that. That's what we call, well, sort of more modal borrowing, but remember some of these chords do have more than one option in minor. The book sometimes likes to throw a little variety into these exercises by using, we're going to use the raised 6, which is why you have the G sharp there in the chord. They already give it to you. So our 4 chord in B minor, major 4 chord would be what, Isaiah?
E.
No.
And then G sharp and B.
E, G sharp, B. Alright. 7th chord. What do you think, Isaiah?
A.
A what?
A. C sharp.
Yeah, A 7 up, so.
Oh, so then are we doing A sharp?
A sharp, there you go. And then C sharp, and the 5th is E. E. That's what gives you your diminished chord. And then back to our 1, which you said was E, D up. Sharp. All right, so that's those are our chord tones. Our soprano is given to us. All you need to do is fill in this is an alto. different possibilities, I think, depending on how you voice, or the second, basically how you voice the second chord, I think. Alright, this was a little bit easier, I think, again, only adding one voice, not as many options when you have 2 out of the 3 voices already given to you. Joey, what do you have for your voice in here?
D, and then go down to B, then up to C sharp, and then back down to B.
Back down to B?
D,
Oh, up.
like up to D, yeah.
Okay. So yes, D is really the only note that we have for this first chord that we can fill in for our alto, because we have the root, we have the fifth, we definitely need a third in there. For the next chord, Joey chose complete triad. Probably could have also gone up to an E and had an incomplete triad for your alto. Either one is fine. Let's see, moving to our next chord, we have an incomplete triad now with the 2 C sharps and the A sharp. As long as you don't double the A sharp, you're good. Don't want to double the leading tone. And then moving to a B, B, D, an incomplete triad. Okay, now let's look for any parallel motion. B is a perfect fifth. Moving in the opposite direction. C to C are perfect octaves. We're moving in the opposite direction, so I think you're good. Between our soprano and our alto. Parallel motion all the way, but it's parallel 6, so that's fine. Like I was saying, I think the only, somebody could have gone up to E with their alto. If you did go up to E, as long as you didn't go down to C sharp after that, what's the problem with going down to C sharp after our E here?
Parallel.
Yeah, you'd have parallel octaves between your bass and your alto. So what could we have done otherwise than go to E? Was that? Stay on the E, yeah, instead of going down to C sharp, the E could have just stayed. That could have worked. And then probably, since we have 2 roots, you need a third in there, the E could have gone down to the E at that point. And so your alto line could have looked like this too, and that would have been fine. Yep.
If the second note, the alto, we went back down to the B, which Joey had, but leave everything else the same.
D went down to
yeah, to B.
To the B?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we have everything that Joey had, except that the third note goes up to the E instead of down to the C sharp.
All right, let's double check. So yeah, this part's fine. E to B is our fifth, and now they're at thirds, so that's fine. Soprano and alto are fine. Yeah.
So that works.
Yep, that would work too. Yeah, so with 3-part, you definitely have a few more options. Just got, again, be looking for any parallel motion. All right. Any questions about what we're doing here? Again, be something similar to this on the exam. Let's look at all right. This is in the textbook self-test, page 112. We did examples like this a week or so ago, where you looked at the soprano line, and then you fill in the chord progression, right? But we did it all in root position. Now that we have the option of first inversion triads, let's see what we can do with this. So let's take a look at this one right here. This is our melody. We have to harmonize it. So it's gonna be potentially a lot of different answers here.
You said page 110?
Page 112 in the textbook. Yeah. So if you're given something like this, and it has to harmonize it, what's the first thing that we want to do? Hard.
I'd figure out which chords are possible where, like with the note that's given to it.
Yeah, so we have our melody note here. Let's figure out what chords are even possible to harmonize each one of these melody notes. And then we'll figure out a bass line that will work with that, all right? First chord should probably be what? Our one chord anyway. And the first note, G, does harmonize with our one chord. So I think that's a good place to start right there, right at the beginning. Our last chord should be our one chord, and the note E flat harmonizes with our one chord. So that works out really well. Our second to last chord should be 5, and F is the fifth of our 5 chord. So that works out pretty well.
Or seven, but we're not allowed to use seven right now.
You could go 7 to 1. It's not.
All the homework instructions are like, don't use a diminished triad, and I'm like, oh.
And that was because we couldn't do it because we didn't have first inversion triads. And now that we use first inversion triads, we can use 7.
I see.
Yeah. All right. So moving forward from here, we have a half note. We can keep the harmony still on the half note, or we can change it, because we have 2 G, you can think of it as 2 Gs in a row, and the chord changes. You could also maybe arpeggiate your bass, so you could go 1 to 1 6 if you wanted to with your bass. We have some options now, so something maybe to keep in mind. So maybe we'll just do that for now. What if we did choose a chord, we could have a 1 chord, right? 1 harmonizes the G. What else could harmonize the G? The 6. So if the G is the 5th of the chord, C would be the root, that's our 6. If G were the 3rd of the chord, whoops, what am I thinking? Yeah, if G were the root of the chord, it would be the 3rd. Right? F. If F's the root of the chord, 2 chord. That's going to stay the same for the next F. If F is the 3rd of the chord, which is the 7th. And if F is the 5th of the chord, what would be the root?
B.
There you go. E flat, and B flat is what note in the key of E flat? Scale. All right. E flat the root, then that's going to be our 1 chord. If E flat's the 3rd of the chord, what would be our root? C, and C is the sixth note up. If E flat is our, fifth of our chord. That'd be our A flat would be the root, so that is our 4. Again, we have the option, we could keep it as half notes, 14, 20, 12, E, is 7. If E is our third, Joey, what's the root?
It would be D.
B and what chord?
That would be the 6, or 5. There we go.
And if D were the fifth of the chord, what would be the root?
G.
And what note is G and key E flat?
3.
3. Alright, so we'll do that again. We have an E flat again, so we already completed that column. 1, 6, and 4. We have a G. That was our first column. We didn't actually complete it all. Oh yeah, we did. 1, 3, 4, 6. A flat. If A flat's the root, you're a 4 chord. If A flat was the third of the chord, Matt, what's the root?
F,
F, and what scale degree is F in E flat?
it's the 2.
2. And if A flat's the fifth of the chord,
It's 7,
7.
both diminished.
Yep. So before we said don't use diminished 7, or our 7 chords because they're diminished, and we don't use diminished chords in first root, or in root position. That's absolutely true, but now we can because we discovered first inversion triads. Let's see, our bass, maybe an E flat, maybe a half note, we don't know, maybe a quarter note. I know it's gonna end here. Probably 5 to 1 that way. All right, so how do we want, sometimes it's easier to start at the beginning and keep going. Maybe it's better to start at the end and see how you get to the end. We have some possibilities. So if 1 stays on the 1, 1 can go anywhere, so we got lots of options there. If 1 went to 3, what's our options after 3? Kind of limited at that point, right? What chord comes after 3 in our chord diagram? 6. We don't have a 6 as an option. Can 3 go anywhere else?
Oh, yeah, it can go to 4.
Good. 3 can go to 4, but that's also not one of our options. So I'm gonna say probably 3 is not a good choice here. What if we went down to the C, make it a 6 chord? Can 6 go to 2? Yeah. And 6, can 6 go to 7? No. Can 6 go to 5? No, not unless a 5 was in front of the 6. So we could stay on the 1. You could make it a half note. You could go 1, and you could do a 1, 6, and then a 2. Although, if we did that, at least a 2 in root position, our baseline would look like this. I see a problem already conflicting with our soprano by doing that. Does anybody see what I'm seeing?
not the G that I'm looking at when you're asking that, right? Is it the F in the base? When you say there's a problem with the.
Well, my baseline is following the progression of one chord from
Mhm.
1/6 to 2. Okay? So my bass notes are quarter, E flat, G to F. And my
So
soprano is going
parallel
G.
octaves.
Yes, parallel octaves. It's a little disguised, but it's still there because from beat 2 to beat 3, we still have G to F in both voices. So this is like, you know, you want to choose your progression, but you also want to keep in mind what is happening between the bass and soprano while I do it. So you could, again, keeping the bass right where it is, on a half note, E flat, moving up to F would be contrary motion with the soprano. Maybe that's a great way to go. But you could also, if you want a little more flavor in there, move to the C to the 6, and then up to the F. If you really wanted that 1/6 in there, and you really wanted to keep that, then maybe an option would be to make the 2 chord a 2/6. And now you have the A in the bass, and you have contrary motion with the soprano again, and it works out. So the possibilities open up a lot more when we have first inversion triad. Right? So again, and maybe that's the type of bass line that you want, more of a walking. I mean, you have a little skip here, but it's sort of walking up a little bit more. Again, you won't have this option on the exam to be able to go to the piano and listen to it, but it's a difference between just even within the first 3 notes. If we have what I have written here, we have, whoops, or, it could have gone, so you could have had a 6 chord go to a 2 chord in root position, a 6 chord go to a 2 chord in first inversion. Again, lots of options here. As far as the test is concerned, go with probably the simplest option. And know you as far as time restraints, don't overthink it. I'm kind of overthinking it right now. Don't overthink it. Let's go with the simplest option. I think the simplest option then would be to keep it a 1 chord for 2 beats, and then go from there. And probably go to my 2. Now there we could stay on the 2. If we stayed on the 2 for 2 beats, will 2 go to 1? According to our chord diagram. No. 2 go to 6.
No.
2 go to 4.
No.
No. So after we get to this 2 chord, or we could change it and just go to a 5 chord. Instead, we go 1 to 5, and then maybe back to 1 or 1 to 6. Or you can go 1, 2, and you can slip a 5 chord in there after, and that would take us to the next chord. So I kind of like that idea just because the chord, the soprano is moving a little more. Let's do that. Then we have our 1 chord, chord, 5 can go to 1, 5 can go to 6, can 5 go to 4? No. Let's take that one out. After that, if it's a 1 go to 7, 1 go to 5, 1 go to 3, 3. Yeah. If it's 6 technically, according to our chord diagram, won't go to any of those, but there's a little caveat, if it's preceded by a 5, 6 can go anywhere. Usually it actually often goes back to a 5, so that progression could work. 5 to 6, back to 5. Let's just make it easier though on ourselves. We go back to 1, and then maybe to 5. Now we could throw in different chords on the off beats, on beat 2 or beat 4. If we wanted to really spice this up, but say this is our exam and we want to get through this, we want to just make sure we get the right things done. So we'll keep it the way it is for now. After the 5 chord, 5 can go to 1, 5 go to 6. Let's try sprucing it up. Let's go to 6. Maybe we can. After 6, can 6 go to 1?
No.
If it's preceded by a 5, which in this case it is, it could technically go to 1, it could go to 3, or we could stay on a 6. I say, why don't we stay on a 6? Because then we can go 2 to our 5 to 1 after that.
If you stay on the 6, can you still go anywhere else because it was preceded by the 5
Yeah.
2 beats ago?
Yeah. Yep. So it could have gone, well, 6 could go to 4 anyway, we could have gone to 7. Let's just go with this for now, and now see what our baseline looks like compared to our soprano one. See if we have any issues. So if that's the case, we got our E flat, have our 5, our B flat, going up to C, and then our 2 is F, 5, back to 1. All right. Any concerns with the soprano and the bass? So what would we be looking for? Is there parallel motion? E flat to G is a third, F to F octaves, E flat to F fifths, E flat to E flat octaves, B flat to D thirds, C to E thirds, so that's parallel, but not parallel fifths or octaves, C to G fifths, F to A thirds, B flat to F fifths, E flat to E flat octaves. Alright, so no parallel fifths, no parallel octaves, so that's good. We have contrary motion, oblique motion, contrary motion, similar motion, parallel, oblique, similar, contrary. Looks good that way. One last thing I want to check for, between my bass and the soprano, are there any direct octaves or direct fifths? And what do we look for with direct octaves or direct fifths?
Oblique
bass and soprano moving in the same direction. So once again, we have contrary, oblique, contrary. Here's similar motion, but soprano's not moving by a leap, and the resulting interval is a third, not an octave or a fifth. Here, they're moving in parallel motion, oblique. Similar motion from a C to the F in the bass, G to A in the soprano. Soprano's moving by step. Resulting interval is a third, not a fifth. Here we have similar motion. Soprano is moving more than a step, and the resulting interval is a fifth. So I do have a direct fifth here between my bass and my soprano. Alright, so I have to change this. How can I change it? Do I want to keep it a 2 chord? If I keep it a 2 chord, what can I do to change it? Invert it. So I could make this a 2/6 instead. And that gives the bass a step up while the soprano is moving down. So it gives me some contrary motion with my soprano and resolves the direct fifths. But now I have to double check because I just changed the interval, or the interval before. So we have a C to G, which is a perfect fifth, A flat to A flat octave, contrary motion, that's fine. Alright. So now we have a spot where we have an inverted chord. Great. Where else can we put an inversion? Does everybody remember where we may want to put an inversion?
6 chord.
We want to avoid putting it on the 6.
Oh, boy.
Especially if it's followed or preceded by a 5.
Oh, that's
Because it'll sound like a 1 chord again.
About like the 1 or the 5 in, like buried in.
Be buried in the middle, right? So even though this, yeah, right away, we go from 5 to 1. We could make that a little bit more interesting, maybe. What if we made it a 5/6 to 1 instead? So now our bass doesn't have to jump as far down to the B flat. It's a little closer, thirds there in our bass. Also, one of these, or maybe both in this case. We could do something different. Especially when we have half notes like this. I think it's fair game that maybe if you want to arpeggiate it a little bit, give the bass something else to do other than just hanging out on a half note. So what if we did like a 1 to a 1/6 to a 5? So we do E flat, and then it jumped down, big jump down, and then up to the 5. And even if you wanted to even do a 5/6 after that. That could work. Gives your bass definitely a lot more motion. Singers will be happy that they got something to do there. Again, we just want to make sure that with our soprano, we don't have any issues with the soprano moving like that, which we shouldn't. But we have now, instead of B flat to D, moving to C and E flat, we have D and D moving to E flat and C, opposite directions though. So actually we kind of took care of that parallel motion that was happening between our bass and our soprano by just adding in that first inversion triad. Since our 6 here, I would probably keep it in root position rather than moving it to a first inversion. I mean, you do have that option, C up to E flat, and then down to the A flat. That could work. I think we have enough base movement now that we would create some interest. So if our soprano is this, let's see. With our bass now. That works. That's nice. Then filling in the alto and tenor could make you change a harmony in there, maybe perhaps, or possibly change your bass line. Be willing to compromise from time to time if you have to, depending on what's going on with the alto and the tenor. I have a question.
Yeah. So, don't use an inverted, first inversion 6 chord when following a 5.
Yes.
Right? Does that apply if the 5 is in the first inversion?
So the 5 can be a first inversion, just not the 6.
Right, so if you've got, for example, here you've got 5 in first inversion, then the 6 following it shouldn't be in first inversion as well.
Correct.
Okay. In this case, then the follow-up question is, you got a 5 in first inversion followed by a 6.
Yes.
You said that you could go to the 6 in first inversion, but then.
After.
So if you can go from a 5 to a 6 in root and then arpeggiate the 6 to first inversion.
Yeah.
That's not violating the
You're
rule.
right. Yeah, because the initial,
Transition.
yeah, transition from the 5 to the 6 is what you want, not 5 to 6 in first inversion. It sounds like a 5 going to a 1, you go to a 6, and it sounds like maybe the C is a wrong note. It should have Okay, good question. Other questions about what we did here? Does this make sense? How we went about it? Wanna try another one? Similar?
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at. Let's look at number 5 here. Doesn't matter if it's, I don't know if we'll get to filling in the invoices or not, let's just see about creating a harmony to it. All right, rather than me do it, why don't you guys try this on your own for a little bit, 10 minutes or so. And then if you have individual questions, I can come around and, work with you, answer as much as I can.
This is in the actual textbook.
This is, yeah, from the actual textbook, what I'm looking at is page 112. And we're looking at number 5 down at the bottom there.
So yeah, going from this chord to that chord is good. There's an error from this chord. But it's because you changed it was on C, now it's on D. And that created an error. You notice it, you can run it. So now you have to double check. Did you create the parallel or anything between this chord now and this chord because you have force it.
Sure.
Yeah, use the insertion. Very good. It's parallel. Tom was also saying, yeah, that's good.
Does it make sense to you?
Not really, but if it makes sense to you.
So I'm writing out what position it is,
Mhm.
so I can see. Okay. So this is base, tenor, also this one.
Okay.
So I can see the one line up and the five line up.
Yeah.
So then I can see if it's a fifth and fifth, then I can see that, or if it's an octave.
Yeah, that would make sense. That, does Cindy help you with that, or is that something?
I
that-
came up with that.
Okay, that's clever.
So, yeah, it's been helping me. Yeah. The only thing that I have to look for is other, which is
The what?
like the mercury or the.
Oh, if it goes in the opposite
Yeah.
direction. Yeah.
Which is still, I can see some.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
because they start, yeah.
It would still be, like if you had
Yeah.
octaves here, it would still be octaves.
Yeah, so I really just have to make sure that I can see octaves.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah.
It is when I have to do all the position. Because
Yeah.
it's gonna be the hardest one.
Jury books?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because you could have group 1, 3, and 1, or 1, 3, and 5.
Okay.
So that's where we have an option of 3, 5.
Okay, okay. So I can have, I can double the group or I can. And then I know I sent, I don't know this one, I cannot find it. I'm trying to figure out how
Or
this.
1 other than-
I know I have this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go, do that with Cindy tomorrow.
Okay.
And
This page.
I guess that was.
Okay. Yeah, these two, Here's also this one. This one, which is easy. I think we can do most of the class.
Yeah, that one's not marked.
And then this one. Okay.
So it's 1 and 2.
One, well, one is.
Yeah. I should have this one to you later today. This page.
five, the